Hello dear students, this is explanatory session and today I will explain The Seven Ages of Man by William Shakespeare. I am Sanju Hazria, Assistant Professor of English at Government College Ratangarh, and as you know this poem is included in BA Part 1st, Paper 1st by Maharaja Ganga Singh University Bikaner, and this poem's name is Seven Ages of Man. So these are seven ages of man. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being seven ages, at first the infant. So, in this poem, Shakespeare is explaining that man plays seven parts, seven stages in his life. So, Shakespeare was a man of the theatre, an actor, and a playwright. It is natural of him to think of life in the world as a drama on the stage of the world. So, all the world is like a stage. All the world, he says that the whole world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players, and all men and women simply play their assigned roles, just as they have their exits and entrances. So just as players on the stage enter and leave the stage, men are born and die in the world, and one man in his time plays many parts, and one man in his life plays many roles in the drama of life on the stage of the world. All the part he enacts on the stage of the world can be divided, his acts being seven ages. So all the parts he enacts on the stage of the world can be divided into seven different roles. In short, man's life in this world from infancy to old age can be conveniently divided into seven stages. So I think you understood this stanza. And now next, his acts being seven ages, at first the infant, mewling and pucking in the nurse arms, then the winning schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwillingly to school, and then the lover. At first the infant, at first he enacts as infant, the part of infant. So the first stage of man's life in this world is that of infancy. Okay, so first stage of human being's life is in this world is that of infancy. Mewling and pucking in the nurse arms. As an infant, man is a little helpless thing dependent on his nurse for everything. He is always in his nurse arm, crying and vomiting all the time. Then the winning schoolboy. In the second stage of the drama of human life, we see man as a schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face. As a school going child, he is always making complaints about trivial things. He has a bag of books, etc., on his back. When he is going to school, he has a shining face because it has just been washed by his mother or nurse. Unwillingly to school, and he does not like to go to school at all. He goes to school unwillingly, so he moves at a snail's pace. And then the lover, and the next stage of life is lover. So I think you understood this stanza. And now next, unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress eyebrow, then a soldier full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth, and then the justice, and then the lover. After the school stage, he becomes lover. So, and then the lover. After the school stage, the schoolboy grows up into an adolescent. He is a lover at this stage of life, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad. And he is a lover at this stage of life. So the quoted lines describe man's role as a lover on the stage of the world. As a lover, he is always sighing aloud in memory of his beloved. His sighs are loud and noticeable. He is always sad. He expresses grief on not being near his mistress. So he is writing ballad, woeful ballad, sad ballads in his memory, in her memory, praising the beauty of her eyebrows made to his mistress eyebrow, and he is writing ballads in the praising beauty of his beloved's eyebrows, his mistress eyebrows. Then a soldier. Then he becomes a soldier. As a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard. So, as a soldier, a young man is always very impetuous. He is always ready to take offense. He takes all sort of new oaths. He wears a long and pointed mustache. He is very sensitive in questions of honor. Jealousy in honor means he is very sensitive in the questions of honor and quick in quarrel. And he is always ready to take up a quarrel on the least provocations. Seeking the bubble reputation, he is always eager to win glory no matter how intangible and transient it is. He seeks glory even in the cannon's mouth. Even he seeks glory even at the peril of his life. And then the justice, and the next stage is of justice. So I think you understood it. And the next stanza, even in the cannon's mouth, and then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise shows and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk sank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion, sense teeth, sense eyes, sense taste, sense everything. So, in these lines, the poet describes that the next stage of life, the poet describes the last three stages, the fifth, sixth, and seventh stage. In the fifth stage, a man acts in the part of a judge. So, in the fifth stage of man's life, becomes the part of a judge. In fair round belly, with good capon lined, he grows fat on the flesh of capon, which he receives as bribe. With eyes severe, he assumes a severe look, and beard of formal cut, which seems to show a, so he assumes a severe look, a stern look, which seems to show a determination to do justice, although we know that he has taken the bribe. And beard of formal cut, he trims his beard in right civilian style just to distinguish him from the soldier with his shaggy uncut beard. Full of wise shows and modern instances, he is a tiresome bore talking glibly of wise maxims taken out of some legal handbook and illustrating them by commonplace stories and cases. And so he plays his part. In this way, he plays his part of judge. The sixth stage, and now becomes the sixth stage, shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon. Now becomes the sixth stage of the man, becomes a lean comic figure wearing slippers, spectacles, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, wearing slippers, spectacles, and a pouch. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide, and the breeches of his earlier years, which he has carefully saved, seem much too big for his shrunken legs, for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, and seem much too big for his shrunken legs, and his voice, formerly so deep, sonorous, and manly, now issues in the turning again towards the childish treble, pipes, and whistles in his sound. Now, formerly so deep, sonorous, and manly voice now issues in the shrill piping accent of a child. Thus, the old man looks like the pantaloon, the comic character of the Italian stage in every respect. And now comes the last scene of all. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history. So, the last scene of life is the dotage of old age. is second childishness. It is second childishness and mere oblivion when all the memory of the past is lost and the senses are all in decay. Sense teeth, sense eyes, sense taste, sense everything. So now the man then becomes almost a nothing without teeth, without eyes, without taste, and stress and frets his hour away to be heard no more. So I think you understood this poem. So this is the explanation of this poem, and I think you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching this video.